So this is an opportunity to see the complete interview that I did with Ice Cube and Trevor Jones prior to the drop that they did on Nifty Gateway. It was an interesting conversation. It didn't quite go the way I was expecting it to. Cube was more thoughtful, more contemplative than I was expecting. But we definitely got to see an insight into why he'd come to this drop in the first place, and you got the sense that here were two elder statesmen of their crafts joining forces and enjoying the collaboration in this weird and wonderful space of ours. There's a lot of insight here, a lot of depth into the process, how they came together. And eventually, I did indeed possibly get Cube to say WGMI, but you'll have to watch the whole interview to find that. I hope you enjoy it. It was a blast working with this cultural icon and plenty of good stuff here. Enjoy. Don't let high gas costs keep you out of Ethereum. At Balancer, the gas-optimized vault architecture makes trading cheaper than anywhere else. Liquidity providers can optimize their fee earnings using the dynamic fee system that automatically adjusts to market conditions. You can also use asset managers to lend out idle assets, dramatically increasing your capital efficiency. And because Balancer is an open platform for flexible, automated markets, you can choose from stable pools or weighted pools, and in the future, more designs will be created that we don't even know about yet. Check it out at balancer.fi. Do you want to get actionable insights and find new investment opportunities before everyone else? Well, Nansen is a blockchain analytics platform tracking more than 100 million wallet addresses. Make informed decisions on your yield farming and investments through dashboards like hot contracts, smart money, and NFT paradise, and see who's aped into an NFT collection or farm, and look into the behavior of money flows on chain. Sign up now at nansen.ai and become a smarter investor today. DeFi Saver is one of the essential DeFi apps for advanced portfolio management, with tools to instantly leverage up or unwind your positions, available for top Ethereum lending protocols such as MakerDAO, Aave, Liquidity, Compound, and Reflexer. Famous for its flagship automation features, DeFi Saver is known for saving hundreds of positions from liquidation during major market crashes, such as the one we had in May 2021. By constantly monitoring your positions and automatically making adjustments as soon as needed, it provides you with peace of mind while being away from your keyboard and your keys. DeFi Saver also enables you to combine various DeFi actions, create unique protocol interactions, and execute them in a single transaction using their recipe creator feature. So my first guest today is an internationally renowned artist, considered one of the top practitioners in his field, a multidisciplinary groundbreaker, banking millions for his art and leaving an indelible mark on culture. The other, of course, is Ice Cube. Welcome to the Defiant, welcome to the NFT show. And first, I have to ask you, what do I call you? Do I call you Cube?
Call me Cube, man. Yeah.
See, the thing is, like, I told my kids I was going to be interviewing Ice Cube. But you know what they did?
What'd they do?
They laughed. They thought it was the funniest name they'd ever heard. Do you have that? Do you have that sometimes? Like, if only they knew who you were and how scary you were.
You know, I've had people laugh before, not at my name, but, you know, I've done a comedy or two, so I could dig it. How old are your kids?
One is 7, just turned 7, and the other one is 9.
Yeah, that's the age that you probably laugh at something like that a dude is actually named Ice Cube. That would be funny to me if I was 7.
Well, I'll tell them tomorrow that I interviewed Cube, and they'll just burst into hysterics, which is cute because, you know, I think we'll get into some of the story behind you, your image, everything else. But I have to start with the burning question here, which is, why did you decide to do an NFT?
Well, you know, I've always looked at everything that we've done, from music to movies, as art. You know, we paint pictures with our songs, at least songs used to. And so I grew up in an era where you had to paint with your lyrics. You had to, it was the video era, but all, you know, my greatest songs, some of my greatest songs never had videos to them. So they had to be like audio movies where you could, you know, paint the picture in your own head. So I've always looked at music from that perspective. And and getting into movies and being able to see, to me, probably the biggest canvas an artist can create on is a movie screen, with hours of putting a picture together. So I've worked in some powerful mediums, but I've always respected every level. When I got into music, I respected music. And even in movies, I acted for a few, and then I really learned what I needed to do to get on the other side and to be a producer, to be a director, to be a writer, to be a creator, So, the NFT space, of course, hit, like a monsoon or a hurricane. I don't get too many of those over there that way, but we get a lot of them. And so, like every other artist, I'm interested. I want to see what's going on. But the last thing I want to do is disrespect the space. I didn't want to just, I had all my graphic artist guys that I work with on, bullshit, little clips here and there, calling me, wanting to put things together. And that just didn't sit right, didn't feel right. So I wanted to work with the best in the space. And that's what led me to Trevor.
Yeah. Before we get into that, what was on your radar? What were you seeing that wasn't working for you? You don't have to name names, but what were the things that felt like maybe a money grab or something else that you were like, I'm not sure this is where I want to go with this?
Some of it didn't feel like art to me. It felt like, kind of things you would just throw together. And I don't want to disrespect people who put in hours and hours of work doing doing the graphics, but, it just seemed pretty one-dimensional in a lot of ways, maybe 2 dimensions, but I wanted to do something, or I wanted to see like a real artist in this space. And what really turned me on after seeing a lot, what really turned me on about Trevor, and the first thing I seen was the Bitcoin Angel. And it was his ability to me to take the past and merge it with the future, which is interesting to me. And so I think I always felt like, okay, if I did it, I have a long past. It's not as long as the Angel, but I got a long past, and I would want to work with somebody who could connect my past to the future. So it just, it was a perfect simulation of that, for lack of a better word, a perfect piece that describes, okay, past and the future. Here's somebody who get it. And, I just feel grateful that he was willing to work with me. And, most people would be like, hey, go make your movies, go make your records, stay out of my space. But, I just knew if we had a connection, artistically, we could do something that had many, many layers, that was, multifaceted, with music and tracks that enhance the art. And so that's what we've been working 7 months or so on just working out the fine details.
That's an awfully long time to be working on it. Trevor, I spoke to your wife about the moment that Cube called, and she gave me the inside track, the truth. You can dress it up however you want, but I've got that on record and it will come out. Did you make a little noise, like a little squeak, when you heard who was on the other end of the line? What was that moment like? Because this is Cube we're talking about.
Well, first off, she wasn't there when we had our first phone call. I remember, and what I loved, it was a phone call. You know, it wasn't a Zoom, it wasn't a Google Meetup, it wasn't any kind of like, it's like, here's a number, call me. And I'm in my studio. I got really, really bad reception in here. So I'm like, you know, it's like, what if I drop out or something? I can't drop out on Cube, and he thinks I hang up on him or something, so I'm freaking out. And then, so I'm going out of the studio, out of the complex. I'm going outside, and I'm trying to find a place to actually have a conversation. I'm seeing time's running out. You know, I'm getting close to the call, and go to the park. There's too many dogs and babies crying and stuff. And so I finally found a little cul-de-sac and just sat down on the sidewalk and said, okay, time to make the phone call. But yeah, I remember absolutely. It was very surreal. You know, it was very surreal to hear Cube on the other end of the call, you know, and, you know, this cultural icon, this person who's been, you know, just trending for 30 years in so many different types of artistic and creative fields. And he's like, you know, hey, Trev, how you doing? I'm like, what the? So yeah, it was, and I didn't make a squeak. You know, you can ask Cube. I'm sure I didn't.
You're way too cool. You're way too cool to do that. Trevor, were you a fan of Cube's music? Did you listen to it growing up? Was this part of your cultural upbringing?
That's a good question. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is, I mean, I grew up in this little redneck working class logging community in Western Canada, 1,200 people. You know, Cube and I are almost exactly the same age. You know, I think he's about 9 or 10 months older than me, but looks younger, damn it. And I was at that time, you know, 19, 20, 21, I knew who Cube was. I knew the name, I knew of NWA, but I was rocking my ripped jeans and my long hair and listening to really terrible hair metal bands and, you know, that kind of thing. So I didn't grow up listening to Ice Cube. But then, you know, fast forward to 6-7 years ago when I meet my wife, Violet, who's from Poland. And so when she heard that Cube had been in touch to ask about a collaboration, she absolutely freaked out. And she was, yes. I was in two minds, not because of Ice Cube. I mean, it was kind of after February of the Bitcoin Angel drop and all that, there was a massive influx, you know, as Cube mentioned, of people getting on board, celebrities and athletes, sports stars and big brands. And, you know, we were inundated with requests, you know, a lot of the artists in the space. And I was turning down everything because it didn't feel right. You know, for me, it wasn't about the money. You know, I've struggled for 20 years as an artist, and all of a sudden, you know, this thing happened, and I knew that it was about making good decisions. So when Cube got in touch, I think there was a fear. You know, even though I didn't grow up with his music, you know, I knew more about Cube as the actor, as the Hollywood A-lister. You know, that part of his life. But then Violet, who said, like, you know, he was such an icon in Poland when she was growing up. She said, there's no way you're saying no. So, I mean, I had no choice. You don't say no to Violet anyway, you know, and she swears like a trooper. She's like, it's fucking Ice Cube. And it was like, you fucking doing this. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't realize, you know, I mean, she swears a lot. She's very, very funny. And she, you know, so I found out over the last few years, and especially recently now, that she learned how to speak English. First off, watching old VHS tapes with her dad of Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy stand-up. And And then
let's just take a moment to think about that for a second.
so she's
Oh, wow.
in Poland with her dad. and then she's completely obsessed with Ice Cube and NWA as a teen and younger. And so now it all makes sense. She swears a lot. She's ridiculously funny, and she loves gangster rap, and she loves Ice Cube. So when we had the conversation, it's okay. This is definitely we're going to do this. But then that took it to the next stage. After the phone call with Cube, and I was 100% committed to it. That's when the fear kicked in. That's when the shit. What if this goes wrong? It's easy if I did something with Mercedes-Benz or Rolls-Royce, whatever. It's whatever. It doesn't matter. But this is Ice Cube. This is, like I said, this is somebody who's been, spearheading social change and cultural change for decades. And I've agreed to work with him. And now I'm shitting myself, because if I screw this up, I worked so hard to get to where I am, and I just throw it all away in one go. So there's been a lot of conversations with Violet about, I do this and we do it right, and there's no cutting corners. There's no, there's no, once we're in 100%, we're in 100%, and we take the time to do it right. And when I was having these conversations with Cube, and he was backing me up, and he was saying, there's been no pressure on me to speed up, to hurry up. And so, yeah, I knew that this was the right decision, and this was going to be amazing, that we were going to do something really unique and really special. But it has been 8 months of a huge responsibility that I felt, because of who I'm working with.
Cube, you've been bearing that responsibility for a long old time now. Are there ever days when you wish that you weren't Ice Cube and you could just not be Cube and be a bit of a dick and shruggle that off? Or do you feel that responsibility to be culturally relevant and lead the charge?
No, I feel blessed to be in this position, to be able to just speak out when there's so much censorship going on. From the time I started doing this kind of music till now. Now it's on a digital level, and the piece "Speak Up" really talks to the amount of censorship that's on the horizon, that's going to keep people from challenging authority, challenging the norms, challenging injustice, or just saying what they feel, from the heart. And I think it's a dying breed of people who say what they feel from the heart, and they're able to stand the heat. And so, it was great to talk to Trevor about our approach. And I knew that he would do most of the heavy lifting, because, he's amazing at what he does. And so I just wanted to make sure I could contribute. So being able to do the music that is, they're not songs, they're tracks. They enhance the viewing of the piece. And so to be able to help in an audio way, as well as come with the themes, which is basically the pen is mightier than the sword. That's it's man versus machine, but when you cut down piece by piece, it's really like we got to use our brains to really get through this, and not think about, we can fight fire with fire. We got to fight fire with brains.
So I'm curious what the common ground was between you guys in the early stages. How did you connect? Because you said you were looking for a connection with an artist that you would work with, but what was the connection you found with Trevor?
That I felt like, Trevor was open and enthusiastic about the challenge. And our challenge was, what is the theme? Like, what are we going to do together? What's going to make this a true collaboration? And, once we locked in on what theme, how was we going to also show the past and the future? How many layers was this piece going to have, with the augmented reality, with the AI? It just was just talking through what we could create together. And we just clicked. It's like I've worked with producers, big name dudes that I've never been in the studio with. And you walk in and it really don't click. You can't come up with the hit. You come up with a cool song, but you can't come up with the hit. In the best times I've walked in the studio and the opposite happened. You click right away. It's like you've been working together your whole career, your whole life, and y'all just make magic together from the jump. And that's kind of how I felt with Trevor. Just we were on the same page from the jump on what this needs to be. And we worked through it and we got here. So it's just been a great relationship. I hope we can do other pieces in the future that make sense. But, this is just an amazing collaboration and I'm proud to be a part of it.
So what are the themes then? We're talking about the pen is muddy and the sword. But were these infused by other things that are kind of, I guess, more macro in a sense, but what's preoccupying you at the moment that's being kind of said through these pieces?
I mean, speaking on like Speak Up, and just going back on seeing the censorship that's happening on these, giant tech platforms. I'm seeing people get their page pulled down. I'm seeing people get suspended. Twitter, they suspended the ex-president of the United States, like it wasn't nothing. So just seeing this is troubling because I went through it early in my career with different kind of entities coming and saying that the music was this and the music was that. And they was trying to shut us down and censor us. We were able to fight through it every time. And I'm worried, are we able to fight through it this time? Because now we have big business in on it. And that's just Speak Up, with Feel the Bite, which is basically, my pen is mightier than my AK, is just showing that you could change the world with your mouth. You could change the world with your voice. Picking up an AK, picking up a weapon, to me is not the answer to change the world, because you got to change hearts. And weapons usually don't change hearts. They usually harden people's hearts. So, I grew up rapping about using the AK and this, that, and the other. And at the end of the day, my music has gotten me further than an AK would have ever gotten me. And the music has changed more minds than an AK would have ever done. So that's really what my feeling with Feel the Bite, and how Trevor was able to incorporate the AKs into the piece, like, and actually when you see it, it's an amazing way where, the art pops out, the guns pop out, the art pops out. It's a nice dance. And so to me, those are very strong pieces. The next one is a Superhero, which is, when you're Black in America and you really facing a lot of the social, I guess the social, you're being like socially ignored in a way, in a lot of ways. The only thing that's highlighted is the things that's not good. And you feel like you have to be your own law. You have to take things into your own hands in a lot of ways, because you never know, if you call the cops, you call the police, are you going to be treated like the victim? Or are you going to be treated like the suspect? I've had shit happen to me on the street, and the police come and they treat me like I did it to me. I'm like, yo, we got a real situation. And so that superhero is how you feel. You feel like you got to take things into your own hands sometimes and be willing to do that, because you just never know if the people coming are friends or foe. And the last one is an a cappella track. And I'll let, of course, Trevor go into the actual painting of the pieces, but the track is really about the paranoia of who like you, who don't like you. And, it's also a nice battle rap in his truest tradition, which is a cappella. Most rhymes in the world happen a cappella. Most rapping in this world is done a cappella. So these are pieces that I think, my contribution to the art and to, what Trevor has done so well. And I just wanted to be able to add to that, and hopefully, the pieces, to me, they go together, perfect. The music and the piece and the animation, the way it's painted. It's just, it has so many layers when you really start to think about what's being shown and what's being heard.
Had you ever seen AI generated artwork before?
Yeah. Not a lot, just a little bit. It seems fairly new to me. But I've seen, I've been, looking here and there at what's out there, and I've seen, a few different pieces that was pretty nice.
Trevor, why don't you just wrap this up with a little bow and tell us kind of what the concept was and how you got to the final form of these paintings and what people can expect to see with them?
I think, first off, he was being very humble in the fact that in his contribution, because it started off as a true collaboration, and that's what we agreed on. That's why I was so excited about this. And we kind of came in, and it wasn't like I had seen so many other times before in the space. Some brand, some person working with some artist, and they just produce something, put their stamp on it, and boom, there you go. So when we came together and we agreed we're going to work together, we said, okay, this is the starting point. What do we do? What do we say? What can we say? We're two very different people from two very different parts of the world. And so I think I'd mentioned I was working on my steampunk Tesla project that I ended up putting to the side to work on this, 8 months ago, however long it's been now. And I started talking about how I found it very fascinating using AI as a creative tool to, help compositions of my paintings. And then Cube started talking about AI in a, almost like a devil's advocate. Well, AI can also be used in nefarious ways. It can be used in ways of manipulation. And, you look at Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, and, how AI can be used as in a sense, a weapon to oppress. It can be used by establishment or police or media, social media in ways. And so then that's when we're just talking, kind of riffing off each other. Say, okay, now starting to get some ideas together. What can we talk about that we both have a connection with? And then was the next step. Okay, what I'm going to paint. And the first idea was my initial thought was, okay, I'm in the middle of a big project. I can set aside some time to work on a painting and an animation piece, and I'll work with Cube, and then I'll start on my other project again. But once I put my head down in this and really started talking with Cube and getting really excited about it, it's okay, wait a second. I don't want to go in 20% or 50%. I want to go in 100% on this, and let's make it big. Let's do this right. And when Cube said, yeah, let's do this, let's go all the way. Let's do it the right way. There's no cutting corners. So I said, how about 4 huge portraits that all work together to tell a story? A story that represents you, your background, your history, but then also brings in the future, and the struggles that we're all dealing with right now, with technology and with, overload of information and dissemination of information. And that's when we were chatting that things started to get exciting and the ideas started to flow. And that's, so essentially that's kind of how that rolled out, to create the paintings. But then this was an ongoing process for months and months and months. And then Cube had to get the paintings to look at and to develop his own narrative around these artworks, each one. And that's when he wrote his pieces. And then he sends them back to me. And then I have to also, I'm reimagining my own work through his words. And that was a very interesting process that I've never dealt with in a creative way before. And then that's again, the fear of, what if I don't pull this off? What if I can't? What the artwork has to work with the music. It has to work with the tracks. It can't. They work together. They can't overpower each other. Or maybe one half. Like for the acapella piece, your homeboys. I knew as soon as I heard that the words were powerful, and if it would be so easy for me to completely create some kind of cliched artwork animation that took away from the significance of the words. So I had to put things on the back, and let the words and Cube take over there. Whereas with other pieces, you listen to and I actually found that one the most difficult to visualize. It seemed with the beats and the music and the other pieces, I was able to kind of figure out something that worked with his words and the music in a visual way that was powerful. So, each one had its own difficulties and its own struggles. Yeah.
So the process was Cube sends you a photo, and then you've got some reference images, and then you mash them together in AI, and the AI spits out a bunch of really ugly stuff, and then just occasionally one comes out that you think, oh, hello. Is that sort of the idea of the process?
That was the beginning. So, with the AI, initially for the paintings, I used just a very simple online AI software program where I had enough. I'm not a coder. I'm not a tech genius. I've got a good friend who I've worked with for 10 years who, if I need some help in that area, he can help me out. But for these, I needed to be able to manipulate images with some kind of AR software program in a way that, it was just basically experimenting, try this, try that, move this, shift that, try a different image here until something came out. But going back to the photographs, I have to tell you, because again, this is why I love working with Cube. This is old school. And like I said, we're pretty much exactly the same age. I had said, okay, Cube, I'm going to need some photographs of you. And I'm going to create some kind of AI portrait. But I need some images from you, some kind of high res images that will give me enough visual information that I can work with. So I was expecting a few days later, 2 days later, to get an email with an attachment. And about 4 days later, 5 days later, a parcel shows up in the post with some some merch, some Ice Cube T-shirts for me and Violet, signed, images, some photographs of him, a handwritten letter. There's, I think, like 15 or 16 portraits of him, really nice, beautiful portraits, and a handwritten letter saying, please send these back. They're quite important.
And that's when you let out a squeak. That was when the squeak happened.
I think that's what it was.
Damn.
Fucking amazing. So, yeah, I put him up on a pedestal there. So this is absolutely brilliant. I love this. So I very, very, very carefully scanned all of them, packaged them back up again, posted them back to California. And that's how the whole process began.
Q, what are you doing? You don't send that stuff out. It's too valuable. Do you know who you are? It's crazy.
Well, I felt like it was in good hands, with Trevor. It was going to be in good hands, no problems. And I wanted to get him the original photos, no, bullshit res, and that thing.
And it kind of brings everything that we did, the whole concept of old school and traditional and historical with the present and the future. We're mixing so many mediums. Why not throw in the physical portrait photographs as well? I mean, that just adds another layer to this whole thing, that these paintings here that I've made started with a physical photograph sent from California to Scotland in the mail, scanned, put on my computer, put through some AI, popped out, then reimagined in oil paint on canvas that was stretched, by me on this stretcher boards, so all these different things, these processes that we went through. And that's why it took so long. This was not a month-long collaboration. This was, back in early April, I think, was our first conversation.
Yeah, a lot of rejects, I can imagine. There's one behind you. Cube, can you talk us through what that is behind Trevor? Because I absolutely love this one. I think it's so awesome.
That's the Speak Up piece. And it's like me, but it's a lot of speakers, packed onto each other to create an image of me. And, that's how I speak up. I speak up with speakers, with the help of the speakers. And so, to me, the image of me just sitting there is an image, most people who kind of sit there and take it till they can't take it no more. And then they got to speak up. And so the music, the visuals, it all coincides, and that's what's amazing, because like, I've never done a soundtrack for a painting before, and this to me, each painting has its own soundtrack.
It's interesting. Feel the Bite, another favorite of mine, has your lyrics. And I found out that you keep pretty much all your lyrics handwritten in this really neat handwriting, almost goofy cartoon style handwriting. It's awesome. I was kind of checking out, why did you do that? Why did you decide to keep the lyrics? Because there's, decades worth of these things.
Well, I used to write all my lyrics in a notebook, and I had, I looked up, I have 20, 30 notebooks full of rhymes, and I would always keep them. You keep your rhymes, you don't get rid of them, because you might go into one of those notebooks one day and say, oh, this is a good song. So, just keeping them over the years, I started to realize that I had some of my biggest songs still handwritten, and that nowadays, that's valuable archives. So I love keeping archives, for my grandkids. They may need some money one day and had to sell it. But I just love, doing that. I think history is fun, when you can look back and see where you've been. So, I do keep my archives as much as I can without my wife, complaining about, how many damn T-shirts you're gonna keep, So it's just cool though, to be able to look back at that stuff, man, and then to be able to incorporate it into a new piece, into, who would have thought my lyrics to Dead Homies and No Vaseline, which were done in 90, 91, would find themselves into an art piece 30 years later, into a new, exciting space like NFTs. So, I'm glad I kept that stuff.
Well, it's the funny paradox of this space is that we love to talk about how amazing it is and how you make an NFT and it'll be stored on the blockchain forever. So your wife wouldn't have to complain about an NFT because it's just stored on the blockchain. And I'm curious how much you have educated yourself or learned about blockchain or whether it feels incomprehensible. But are you deep down the rabbit hole or are you kind of floating above it?
I'm still learning. To me, it's something that I just want to make sure that I'm not, making any major mistakes when it comes to the space. I just want to respect it and respect the people that's in it. I'm not as deep down the rabbit hole as I would like to be, but I'm pretty sure I will be, especially after we drop these. So, it's exciting, man. It's kind of like I put out movies and I've had movie premieres and can't wait for the public to see the movie. And I feel the same way with this NFT. I can't wait for the public to get their hands on it.
Well, the funny thing is, like with an album, you kind of know what music is supposed to be. With a movie, you know what a movie is supposed to be. With an NFT, I don't think anybody knows what it's supposed to be. And in a sense, you're kind of making the rules as you go along now, which, to be fair, with NWA, you're also making the rules as you go along. Do you feel excited about that? Or do you feel nervous that you're going to make people are not going to take it seriously or not going to see what you want them to see?
Of course, you don't want people to look at what you do and say, man, stick to your music, stick to your movies. I feel like, I'm in good hands. I went to the best and we did something that was amazing. None of us chalked it up. We both put our heart and soul into it, knowing what it needs to be. And hopefully, we can, show people what it should be. And we can be, we can set the bar in some respects, and make people know if they come into this space, they got to come correct. And so that's the idea. That's the attitude I have. I'm coming into the space, in a very humble manner. But I am with the big dogs. So
I can give you a couple of tips. If you want to be really taken seriously in this space, there's two simple things that you need to learn how to do. The first, you have to learn how to say GM, but you don't say it, you write it. But you just got to try that. Let it sit in your tongue. I know you've got a lot of words. You know how to do this stuff, but GM. That'll get you respected. You just write GM. People go, oh yeah, Cube got it. And the other one is WGMI. We're going to make it. But I'm curious how you would say we're going to make it, because I feel like your expression of that particular phrase would just make people lose their shit. Like when you do, damn, that's like one of the finest memes in the entire universe. So I feel like your version of WGMI might well go top 10 in the best memes in crypto. You want to give it a go?
We're going to make it, baby. We're going
Yeah, that Trevor, you're going to make it, man. You're going to make it. Last question for you guys.
I think we are.
Art traditionally has been disruptive. It has been a mechanism by which we get shit heard. Are you still feeling like that's possible? Do you feel like your art, the things that you say, can still cut through? That's a genuine, honest question, because I don't know the answer, but I'm really curious whether you feel positive about where we are, or whether it's like, a tough situation to be in for art.
I mean, I love it. I love being in a position where it looks like there's nowhere to go. And then, something like this comes out where you say the possibilities are endless. And so I think art finds a way. art finds a way to get our attention. Some things that get our attention, we don't even call art, but it is. And so I think, as humans, we know how to call out to our other humans. So I think we'll always have the ability to get people's attention. And I'm down to give any new medium a try when it comes to getting messages across and or continuing the message and continuing the fight. So, art is it's like water. It's gonna find the path of least resistance, and it's gonna blow your mind, and that's what it's supposed to do.
If you guys suddenly find you don't get along anymore, are we going to see like a death certificate for NFTs, like no NFT or art certificate?
No, I think what you'll see hopefully is another collaboration somewhere down the line that's thought out, that's thought-provoking and just damn good, so that's what I expect out of this.
It's gonna be a reunion, but first off, we need to come and visit you and see a big 3 match. We need to see a game.
Anytime, man. Please come through, man. We'll treat you like a king, man. You and the wife.
That would be amazing.
Too, Robin, you can come in, man. We'll treat you like a king too.
I would, yeah. Obviously, I would love that. And I have one last question for you, Cube, which is, there's a really unkind thing in your Wikipedia entry, which says that you basically lost your rap audience in '93, and then you kind of,
really?
And I was like, well, you didn't lose me, but like you moved into movies and you moved into your audience, kind of traveled with you to a different place. But are you eager to connect with a new audience, with a different audience through NFTs?
Of course, I've been doing music damn near every other year. So, I'm still into it. People love my movies, but people still into my music. I just did a sold out show with Snoop and E40 and Too Short. And so the music is going to keep coming, whether Wikipedia like it or not. And so to be able to do something that is the future, with an artist like Trevor, it'll just let them know that I ain't going nowhere.
There's a headline I had here, which is from like when you did your first movie. It says it's a rap. Ice Cube has moved into the movie business with Get Ready, a comedy. Like nobody thought you could do that, but the Defiant rapper hasn't lost his edge. How important is it to remain defiant?
Well, it's really about being myself. And you only defiant when you don't agree with what's going on. And to me, that's the only way to be if you don't agree, is to stand up for yourself and try to change it. And so I'm gonna be like this my whole life. I don't think you put an expiration date on being defiant.
Trevor, do you have any final words? Anything? What did you get out of your relationship with working with Cube? I mean, it's still ongoing, of course, but what's it been for you?
Honestly, the most stressful and, like I said, weighty project I've ever worked on, but also absolutely the most fulfilling. And I've said it before. I said to my wife that that for 20 years of struggling as an artist, and you're always trying to pay the bills, and it's like, okay, how do I translate this into some kind of financial stability? And then when that came in the last year and a half, 2 years, I was able to make these conscious decisions as to good choices. I need to make good choices, but also to continue to push boundaries and to take chances and to take risks, which is how I got to where I finally got to after a very long time. And so working with Cube was the ultimate challenge and a huge risk. And I think we pulled it off amazingly. And I'm super proud of what we've done. And, I just can't wait, like you said, for people to finally see everything on Wednesday night. This is something that by far has been the most powerful work that I've ever created. And I have Cube to thank for that 100%.
Yes, well, I wish you both the very best of luck. And Cube, congratulations for taking the time and actually respecting the culture. Like you said, it's not many that have done that or would have done that. And it's awesome to see. Thanks very much for joining the show. Good luck with the drop. And well, I hope to see you guys very soon for the next whatever it's going to be, because I can't wait to see it. Thanks again.
All right, man. See you later.
Peace out.
Take care.
All right.
Cheers.